All right, hey everyone, this is going to be another King James video. If you're not interested in King James, then this video is not for you. If you are, then I want to share some things with you that you might be interested in. Just real quickly, as a quick announcement, this book right here by Peter Ruckman, Differences in the King James Version Editions, by Peter Ruckman, Peter S. Ruckman, okay? This book, I often hear that changes have been made from 1611 until the modern King James that we have today. And this book addresses those changes about the Apocrypha, how it was put in between the two testaments. And the changes between the 1611 and the modern King James that we have today is nothing like the textual changes that we have in the other modern English translations, such as the New American Standard, the New International Version, and the like. So you should educate yourself so you don't fall into this trap in thinking that the King James has been modified from 1611 until the modern King James that we have today. I would say I think it's called the Cambridge edition. But the bottom line is those changes are nothing like the textual changes that occur with the other modern English translations, and that book that I just showed you addresses that very well. Okay, now for the main topic of this video, and I'm going to have to be very careful as I go about making my points on this video, because I want to be as respectful as I can. I don't know much about Pastor Peter J. Peters, okay? I don't know much about him, so I'm going to admit that up front. I have recently ordered 12 DVDs from his Scriptures for America website. It's Pastor J. Peters. I think he died in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. I know he died recently, maybe last year, year and a half ago. And he's got a 12-part DVD series out called The King James Only Deception. And he's Pastor Peter J. Peters, Scriptures for America, and some people that I have a great deal of respect for, admire this man. And I've listened, it's a 12-part series. Let me put this back on full focus. Okay. All right. So Pastor Peter J. Peters has a 12-part series, 12 different DVDs. You can get all 12 of them for $36, or you can buy 12 of them for $5 a piece, right? But I went ahead and bought the package, which gave me all 12 of them. And because this is a topic I'm extremely interested in, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. Now, again, I don't know this man, and I have some friends that follow this guy when he was alive and think very highly of him. So he's only the second person I've ever seen come out against King James onlyism. The other one is James White in this book here, The King James Only Controversy by James R. White. But I've listened to 8 of the 12. I plan on listening to the next 4. Each CD is about 45 minutes. Some of them go 55 minutes to an hour. I've listened to 8 of them. I still have 4 to go. But in the first 8, he has just done a full-blown attack on Gail Riplinger. And this book right here, New Age Bible Versions. Okay, New Age Bible Versions by Gail Riplinger. It came out in 1993. Now, he's basically said, look, let me just state right up front that it's not my intention to say anything negative about Pastor Peter J. Peters. I don't know the man. I haven't listened to hardly any of his stuff. But I know that he was passionate when he was alive that the New American Standard Bible was better than the King James, and he's passionate that Gail Riplinger was demonic, and that this book is demonic, and that Gail Riplinger is a witch. And so I obviously disagree with him on that point. But I would just say, if you're a brother or sister in Christ and you don't believe the King James Bible is the Word of God, we'll just have to agree to disagree. I will continue to espouse my position. But at the same time, if you don't believe it, well, that's your right. It's a free country, and I certainly don't want to make an enemy out of you. I would just say, we agree to disagree. But at the same time, I want to let others know, because, there are those of us that we want to get as much information as we can on this issue and just digest it and consume it, and, we need to understand all the forces that are working and all the main players, okay? But let me say this, after listening to 8 of his 12 CDs, Pastor Peter J. Peters, he came out hard against Gail Riplinger. She's a witch. This book is demonic. He did not read the whole book, and he doesn't recommend anybody read it. He says that if you read it, it'll put you under some sort of spell, and that it's full of wickedness, right? And that he definitely he did not read it, and he recommends that we do not read it. And he even says that those that oppose him will claim, that he's saying not to read the book, which sounds silly to me, but, anyway, here's the deal. I want you to go buy this. If you are interested in King James onlyism, right, you need to be aware of people like James R. White. You need to be aware of this book, which comes out against it. And you need to be aware of Pastor Peter J. Peters, because he influences a lot of Christians. And you need to listen to his arguments, and you need to make a decision for yourself whether you think his arguments hold any water, and whether you think Gail Riplinger is a witch, and whether you should read this book or not. Now, I'm not telling you to read this book. It's just one of many. One thing I will say that I think Pastor J. Peters missed the boat on, if you'll allow me to say that, is he calls Gail Riplinger the lead alpha wolf in the King James only movement. He calls her the queen bee, and everybody else is just knights and pawns. And she's the head lady running the whole show, and everybody else is just following this lady, this economics teacher. And I would say that nothing could be furthest from the truth. She just happens to have wrote one book. She might have written a couple of other books since that one, but she's not a main player in this. Her book got to be very popular, I will grant you that. But if I was to bring out here King Peter Ruckman's material, and I've listened to well over probably 300 hours of him and his sermons, look, if I was to bring out his DVDs and his audio CDs and his books about King James, it would fill this whole table up. Okay? Peter Ruckman is not a knight on the chessboard following Gail Riplinger. Gail Riplinger is late to the party. I want to show you guys some other King James books that were written way before 1993. Okay, so if anything, Gail Riplinger is copying other folks, not the other way around. Pastor Peter J. Peters paints the picture that Gail Riplinger is leading this movement, and there's all these lackey knights and pawns that are following her. But that's not the picture at all. A case in point, Pastor Peter J. Peters mentions Tex Mars. Well, I don't even listen to Tex Mars that much. I don't even know that much about him. I know he's some big conspiracy buff guy. But when I think of King James onlyism, the last person I think of is Tex Mars. I don't even think of Gail Riplinger all that much. Man, if you want the main player in King James onlyism, it is by far, with no second place, Peter Sturgis Ruckman, Dr. Peter Sturgis Ruckman. Okay, he's by far the number one player in promoting. He's God's junkyard dog. Now, I'm not a blind follower of Peter Sturgis Ruckman. Do I respect the man? Yeah, I got a whole lot of respect for him. I think he's probably one of the most intelligent men on the planet, but I don't agree with him on everything, right? And I just think that Pastor Peter J. Peters, at least in the first eight CDs that I've listened to, doesn't understand who the main players are, and has really came out against Gail Riplinger, because I guess some people sent him those books, but I don't think he had enough visibility into who all the players were. Let me just quickly read you the books, these books and these authors. I didn't bring my Peter Ruckman books on the table. If I brought my Peter Ruckman books, 15 minutes wouldn't be enough time, and I don't have enough space to hold them all. I got a whole library in another room that's got a stack of Peter Ruckman books on the King James issue, right? So I didn't bring those. I got all the people who wrote books that aren't Peter Ruckman. I just want to read you those. We have New King James Nonsense by Darrell Coates, and this was written in 1992. This was written 1 year before Gail Riplinger. I've got Witch Bible by David Otis Fuller, which was written in 1970. This was written 23 years before Gail Riplinger. David Otis Fuller wrote it 23 years before Gail Riplinger's book. Let's Weigh the Evidence by Barry Burton was written in 1983. That's 10 years before Gail Riplinger. Final Authority was written the same year as Gail Riplinger's book. Look how thick this book is. I think he probably started on it at about the same time as Gail Riplinger. I don't think he wrote it in response to Gail Riplinger. I don't think he copied Gail Riplinger. It was released in exactly the same year as Gail Riplinger's book. God Wrote Only One Bible by Jasper James Ray, written in 1955. This book was written in 1955, 38 years. Samuel Gipp wrote a book about understanding of the Bible's history, 1987, 6 years before Gail Riplinger. Samuel Gipp wrote the Answer Book, 1989, 4 years before Gail Riplinger. The King James Version Defended by Edward Hills, written in 1956, 37 years before Gail Riplinger. The Corruption of the Word by Kevin James, written in 1990, 3 years before Gail Riplinger. In closing, these are some books that were written after Gail Riplinger, okay? But that's only 3. The majority of the books I got are written before Gail Riplinger. So when Pastor Peters says that Gail Riplinger is the alpha female in the King James only movement, that hasn't been my impression at all, right? And so if you're looking for like the human being that's promoted King James onlyism, it's Peter Sturgis Ruckman, but out of the books I just showed you, he didn't author any of those. Anyway, if you get a chance and you want to know what Pastor Peters thinks about King James onlyism, you can spend $36 and get 12 DVDs from his website, Scriptures for America. It'll give you the other side, and I suggest you go listen to it, because it is, I don't agree with it, but it's good to hear the other side. I'll just put it like that. And again, I'm not slamming Pastor J. Peters. I don't know much about the man. I have some good close friends that love him to death, and I wish, if he's in glory, and I assume he is, I want to respect him and his life. But if you're interested in King James onlyism and you want to hear the other side about somebody attacking it, go listen to what he's got to say. He influences a lot of people, and we need to understand what's going on. God bless the righteous. God bless those who believe the Bible, and may God bring divine justice to the wicked.